Now we're going to bring you our perspective guest on the programme today. And my guest is a British photographer today who was living in Kyiv when Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine broke out in February 2022. He decided not only to stay, but also to stay and fight for the future of the people of Ukraine. He set up a charity, it's called Postcode Ukraine, and with it he makes deliveries of humanitarian aid to frontline towns. At the same time, he also takes photographs which give rather an unsettling, but also a real insight into what life in Ukraine is now like. Mark Neville's pictures now put into a book as well, Ukraine 2022-24, Diary of an Aid Worker. Good to have you with us, Mark. Thanks very much for joining us there live from Kyiv. We're going to start off, aren't we, by looking at some of the pictures. This first one, several gentlemen there in a football stadium. Tell us about this picture, Mark.
Well, this picture is taken in Chernihiv region at Desna football stadium. And it's incredibly sad because actually, you know, there are no more football championships held in Ukraine now for obvious reasons. Because of mobilization, these football players aren't allowed to travel abroad and compete either. But nevertheless, they're so committed and dedicated. Every day they go to their destroyed football stadium and train. And as you can see, the whole track is decimated with shell holes from the attacks that took place at the start of the full-blown invasion. And they're incredibly optimistic that, you know, as we all are, that Ukraine will win, has to win, and that they will have a future as sportsmen and sportspeople.
Yes, one of those images that really brings to home, doesn't it, just what life is like for people trying to carry on in Ukraine.
That's right. And they are incredibly resilient people, the Ukrainians, incredibly brave, but they're just people like all of us. We're all fragile. We're all susceptible to trauma. And really the book is the new book, Diary of a Volunteer, is a call to action for the West to help support mental health issues in Ukraine, because everyone I know is suffering physically and emotionally and mentally. It's too much stress for too long for too many people, and the West really needs to step in and provide mental health support. Mental health organisations need to help, mental health therapists and specialists need to help, and they need to connect with some of the organisations in Ukraine that are listed in my book, Diary of a Volunteer. And if you connect with me or with our charity, Postcode Ukraine, we can connect you with those mental health charities and we can try and make something important to happen.
Mark, tell us about this next picture. It's children in a bus. Tell us about this one.
Well, this was taken in Bogdanivka, which is a part of Kiev region. So as you probably know, Kiev itself was never occupied, but parts of the region were. And it was quite shocking to drive there. It's only like 30, 40 minutes drive from my home. And a school and a bus had been deliberately targeted. And I think I went there in June 2022, so only a month after deoccupation from Russia. And then I started to see very, very clearly that this is a genocide. And, you know, not only was the school and school bus deliberately shelled and targeted, but they also mined the school as they retreated, so hoping to cause maximum impact and devastation to civilian populations. So these are the school children from Bogdanivka school, and I asked them to come and pose back in their destroyed school bus, almost like ghosts from this terrible shelling. But again, incredibly optimistic, incredibly positive people, already saying, we want you to come back in a year, Mark, and photograph our school when it's been rebuilt.
Yeah, it's amazing to see that picture too. We're going to keep looking at some of your other pictures while we talk more generally. Mark, you were in Ukraine already, weren't you, when Russia invaded? Why did you stay? I mean, it could have been a moment when you said, OK, I need to get out of here.
Well, I was surprised myself, actually, because I'd fallen in love with Ukraine when I first came in 2015. I'd written a book about mental health issues in the British military, and Kiev Military Hospital got in touch and said, we read about your book. Do you have a Ukrainian language version of it? And I said, no, I don't, but I'm going to get it translated into Ukrainian for you and send you a copy. And then I thought, no, I'm actually going to go there and visit. And in 2015, so 1 year after the Russian war had started, actually, I met some of the veterans there and I fell in love with Ukraine. And I ultimately moved here in 2020. But of course, you know, although I'd written a book about the imminent war called Stop Tanks with Books, which again I'd sent out to the international community as a kind of call to action, when the war actually escalated into a full-blown invasion, of course, it's something very different. And it kind of throws into stark relief all your feelings about what responsibility means. What do I do? Do I stay in my adopted home of Ukraine? Do I donate blood? Do I make Molotov cocktails? Do I get my wife, Lukiria, to safety in Poland? And ultimately, I chose the latter. So I got Lukiria, my partner, out of the country, but I was away for 2 or 3 weeks. And then I realized I can't leave Ukraine. It's my home. I love it. I love the people here. And I can make a difference through what I do. I've got a small voice and a small platform. And then out of the blue, one of the people who had received a copy of my pre-war book, Stop Tanks with Books, got in touch and said, how can I help? And I said, well, I don't think it's enough just to send me to the front line to take pictures. We need to give these people some support. We need to set up a charity. And to my amazement, this incredible man, Bill, Judy, James, and Douglas, this incredible family, collectors of my photographs, said, okay, we're going to core fund this charity, Postcode Ukraine, which means that any donations we receive go directly on aid itself, because all the running costs of the charity are met. And it gives me the opportunity to document what's happening in my adopted home, and I take these pictures, I use them in books. We've done exhibitions as well at the Foreign Office in London, the V&A Museum in London.
It's an amazing way, isn't it, for you to have been able to take what is your talent and turn it to an advantage, hopefully, for the people of Ukraine.
Well, that's right. I've always strongly believed that it's not enough just to take pictures. Photography has a kind of ethical responsibility because it deals with the truth to effect change effectively. So I think if everybody in their own way tries to make a difference, then things can change. I know there's a feeling of hopelessness at the moment, especially with current elections in France and so forth. But I think there are enough people who want to see positive change, and it's about trying to do something. And we have an obligation to support Ukraine. We really do.
Mark, I just want to ask you briefly about your other projects, because I know, before this, you've been to other places as well, haven't you? You went to Afghanistan, for example. You did rather a calmer project even with the farming community in Brittany.
So I was an official war artist in helmet Afghanistan with the paratroopers in 2011. So I was embedded there for three to 6 months. And actually, I came back with post-traumatic stress disorder. And that's partly why I feel so strongly about it. And indeed, a couple of the people I was embedded with, a couple of soldiers, subsequently committed suicide as a result of unresolved trauma issues from the Afghanistan war. So it's something that I feel I understand and I'm in a position to write about. And I can see that the whole country here, Ukraine, is traumatized. Other projects I've done have also been focusing on things I feel strongly about. One is the farming community and the use of land. And as you know, Brittany is an incredible place for farming. They have something like 5 million pigs there. And being able to see the way in which some of the farmers there actually relate to animals and give them good quality of life and respect the land was very inspirational to me. So I made a whole project about it, and I spent about 2 years going back and forth to Brittany.
Mark, we're just going to interrupt because I know there's one other photo that you want to show us before we leave you. Tell us about this picture.
So this is my friend Shura. She was killed yesterday in action. She was 40 years old, just turned 40. And she was much loved. I photographed her twice, once just after the war began and once a year ago when her partner, her boyfriend, had just been killed, also a soldier. Incredibly brave woman from Crimea. She was captured by Russians in Crimea when it was illegally annexed in 2014 and 15. And when I met her last year again for the second or third time, I said, aren't you scared about going back to the front line? And she said, no, I just want to be with my brothers and sisters. And
difficult moment, I know, but I know it's a photo that you wanted to show to us to pay tribute to her.
The thing is, Stuart, it's not just soldiers dying, it's civilians, it's aid workers. Every week, someone I photographed dies, literally every week. And it's an indication of how many people are losing their lives in this conflict. We urgently need your support, and we're fighting so hard who are fighting so hard. The whole country is.
Mark, thanks very much for being with us on the programme. All our condolences, of course, for your loss and for those other people as well in your pictures. Thanks very much, and thanks for sharing your pictures and your story with us here on France 24. Thanks.